Hello, you are listening to Cali Chats, a healthy living podcast with a goal of helping you find true happiness within your mind, body, and soul. I'm Jessie Cali, and it is time to get real. Hello, and welcome back to Cali Chats. Oh, how I've missed all of you lovely people. Welcome. Lots has changed since we last spoke, and I cannot wait to catch you up. And what better way to do that than start with a brand new season? So welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Cali Chats. For those of you who are new to Cali Chats, I am your host, Jessie Cali, and here at the Chats, we get real with ourselves and we dig deeper on all things self-improvement focused so that we can walk through life as the best versions of ourselves. Honestly, the goal here ultimately is and has always been to find alignment within our bodies, within our minds, and within our souls. And I find that in turn that will help us find true happiness within ourselves. So with all that mumbo jumbo out of the way, welcome. I am so glad to have y'all here. All right, so today our episode is going to be dedicated to the future of Cali Chats and the future of the Cali Creates blog. And then we're going to walk into this month's overall theme of both the podcast and the blog and today's topic, which just so happens to be mental health. We're also going to have a special guest on today's show, which just happens to be Cali Creates' newest additional writer and also my sister, Jackie Cali Hunt. She'll be here later on the show to talk about her upcoming blog post, which launches on May 30th. And she's also going to talk to us about what we can expect to see from her in the future. So first things first, before we get into the bulk of the episode, I want to give you guys a quick update on me, and then we're going to talk about the future of Cali Chats and the blog. So let's get into it. Okay. So the last year or so has been pretty wild over here. Since we last spoke, I got engaged. Yay! And I've also been planning a wedding. Ugh. Yeah, that part has been stressful. Let me tell you, we will talk about that at some point. I've also been working really, really hard on getting the Cali Creates website and blog branding up to par. I've also invested in a full content plan this year, so I'm going to keep doing more of what I love this year and investing in this platform with all of you. And it's been great. I mean, honestly, it's been so freeing just to get the branding back to a place where I find that it's more where we're supposed to be. So if you haven't seen that yet, you should go check it out. You can find that at calicreates.com, CALICREATES.com. I've always known from the start that the goal here was to help people find peace and joy. And I've always shared my experiences and stories in an effort to help others find their way in life. The way I look at it is that if I can just help one person, just one person, with something that I experience, then it's worth it to keep all of this going. Cali Chats is going to continue to serve as the podcast portion of everything that we do here at the Cali Creates core. It's also going to be the easiest way to know the updates of my life, the blog, and the podcast all at once. And of course, it's going to be packed full of motivation. I'm always trying to send y'all some good vibes, so you will find a lot of that here. One thing I'm excited to explore too with the refresh of Cali Chats is to have just a more loosely structured vibe to the episodes. We're going to start each podcast with exactly what we're doing right now, updates. That portion of the podcast is just going to be filled with updates on the blog, updates on the podcast, the overall themes of the month, and of course, updates to what I'm up to. Then we're going to dig into the topic of the podcast. And of course, you're always going to leave here with some motivation, some nuggets of joy. I mean, that's the goal. I'm always hoping to send you guys off with peace, love, happiness. Just put me on a billboard. The last update I want to dive into today before we get into the bulk of the episode is again the refresh of the blog. If you head over to the website, you're going to find that overall new branding look. This last year or so, I really have worked hard on refreshing that and getting it back to the original theme of the blog, self-improvement. This year, I am going to have so many more focused themes of each month, which I will share with everyone on my email list. We'll talk about it here on the podcast as well, but the first people to find out what's new on the blog and the podcast is always going to be my email list. So if you're not signed up yet, head over to calicreates.com/subscribe to sign up for our emails. Our emails truly, I'm serious, they're truly the fastest, quickest way to know what's up on the blog and the podcast. So that walks me into our current theme of the month, which is mental health. I knew this would be the perfect theme to relaunch the site and the podcast since May is Mental Health Awareness Month and is also a huge part of why both the blog and the podcast exist in the first place. So, with that being said, all the blogs posted in May on Cali Creates and today's podcast are dedicated to mental health. Last week, I posted the blog Acceptance is Key, So Why Can't I? Which we will dive into a little deeper today on the show. And next week, my sister, Jackie, is going to launch her very first blog to the site called 5 Ways to Shift Your Mindset After Being Laid Off. So with that being said, sharing the spotlight with me today on the show is Cali Creates' newest additional writer, Cali Hunt. So let's give Jackie a warm welcome to today's show. I think we should add like those little
cute
things,
audience.
Jackie. Cute audience, like, you know. Oh, that'd be fun. So, hey, Jackie, what's going on?
Yeah, well, not much. Just sitting here waiting to record.
You're like, if you could have hurried that up, we would have already been done with this. But you took 10 minutes to tell everyone about your life.
Yeah, I mean, basically. Who said that this was the Jessie show? I'm just kidding.
It's called Cali Chats, and you can get your hunt out of here. Oh, man. So, anyway, Jackie, I was just telling everyone that this month's theme, as you know, since you've been listening, for both the blog and podcast is about mental health. I also told them about how you are launching your very first blog next week. And it's about how you were laid off and how you managed that.
Yeah, basically. So,
that's about
when it comes to being laid off, that can do a number on you for sure. So I was glad to do something for that for this month in particular, to introduce myself to the blog. Because what's better than to say, hey, guess what, I'm going to write here now because I lost my job 4 months ago. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that you're going to be a perfect first additional writing on the blog. Obviously, I've always loved your writing, and you're really good at writing. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but my sister is a full-blown creative writer, author person.
Yeah. Full-blown creative author person that hasn't published anything or had my name on anything in the last decade.
Jackie.
But I did win an honorable mention at LSU a decade ago, 13 years ago, for a screenplay I wrote.
That's what I'm talking about, people. She knows what she's doing.
An honorable mention. I did not win, and there may have only been 2 submitted, but I still got an honorable mention.
Hey, but you got to start somewhere. You got to be your own advocate here, Jackie. But
well,
anyway.
I just don't want people going to look out for my stuff. It will come. It will come. Just
there ain't no website
just don't
yet.
search me now.
Honorable mention. Oh.
Yeah, go look at LSU 13 years ago. See if you can find it.
Oh, Lord. My goodness. Well, anyway, Jackie, I just figured today we could talk a little bit about both of our blogs and some of the overall themes of the blogs and just our mental health struggles in general and how we've dealt with them personally. So, also, we have to give motivation. I've told these people they're getting motivation, so you gotta give some vibes, some motivational vibes to our listeners, okay?
Are we just gonna say, go get it, go right now?
Just do it. Nike.
Do you have to pay Nike now for that?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Don't tell anyone. Lizzie, if you're out there, don't tell them. Don't tell them about it. Lord. Yeah, no, I think it'll just naturally come with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I figured it would be cool for you to go first since your blog launches next week. So I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, well, when Jessie and I first started talking about this venture and going at this partly together, Jessie's still the star. I'd like to say that I'm the honorable mention again. on the website. So that was well planned right there. So Jesse's still the star of the show, but I was glad to be able to come on. We talked about different things. We're in two different places in our life, right? So Jessie has been freelancing for the last few years, and I was living the normal 9 to 5 life, working with 2 kids and a husband. And that all came to a halting stop on January 12th, 2023, when I got a meeting scheduled. And funny enough, I had a friend actually, he texted me. He said, "Did you just get a meeting with so and so scheduled on your calendar?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "They can't fire us all at the same time, right?" And then, we all got let go. So was it was an interesting experience.
Wow. We love
So
that question. They
yeah.
can't do it all at once, can they? Oh, honey, they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And they
So we were
will.
not together in the room, but he was the last one to go. So he was like, "Yeah, I just literally just keep saying people get deactivated." So he was
Oh my gosh, that's
walking up to the
savage.
guillotine or something for him.
Oh my gosh, that is so savage. I mean, I've been in a similar situation with a past company I will not name, where you just kept seeing people filter into a room and it was like, "Uh-oh, they don't come back out of that room."
Right,
I'm like,
right,
"Where did
yeah.
they go? There are 2 doors from that room." But it was almost like they just somehow got them, and they would not even come back for their belongings. It was very depressing.
Yeah, well, and I worked from home, so really it was like, "Oh, hey, so we're letting you go, and by the way, you're gonna be out of everything, like, we're cutting off your access." So literally, like, everything was gone. I mean, you could get into your computer to get any personal stuff, but, like,
Right.
no access to anything. So, hope you didn't have any personal in your email for that. So which I never
Yeah.
did, luckily. Note to all of our listeners, don't put personal stuff in your work email,
Mhm,
please.
mhm.
So,
Or
make sure
like
you're
your
sending
chats.
everything. Yeah. So, anyway, so I wrote about that initial period, the 8 weeks after being laid off, and how it felt immediately after being laid off and then kind of pivoting into something new.
Mhm,
And what's going to be interesting is that, so that's this month, and talking a lot about how I felt set up to be properly able to handle it in that moment. But you kind of have that 8 week period where I was excited to do something new. And what inevitably happened was I was in that honeymoon phase. And then trips came up that were already pre planned, and kids started getting sick. And because I'm not working, or I shouldn't say I'm not working, because I'm not revenue generating at the moment, and my husband is, right? I'm the default parent for
right.
my kids when they're sick, which I like that anyway.
Mhm,
So I kind of went into a little bit of a slump after that. So we just talked about motivation. So I went into that slump. And so being able to talk about, kind of some themes for motivation and for what we're going to talk about in the future is also like what happens, right? When you're so excited about doing something and then you get
mhm.
into it and you're like, this was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Because guess what? Writing a novel is hard, right?
Oh, yeah. Is
We would
it? I
love to
mean,
do it,
are
but
you
it's
sure?
hard.
I figured that people just sat there and were like, "Done."
That's what they make you think, right? Nobody's truthful until you talk to them one on one and they're like, it's hard. Just
Yeah,
FYI.
everybody now is like, "I'm just gonna go on ChatGPT or GPT." Well, I don't even know what it is because I don't care. But everybody be going to AI and they're like, "I can write a whole novel on here." I'm like, "Yeah, that someone else already wrote."
Yeah, yeah. You can write a whole novel. I've heard it's good for like brainstorming ideas, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I mean, maybe I should do all 100% out of my head ideas for the first one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like you don't wanna plagiarize.
Just don't want to plagiarize.
I'm
Yeah,
just
well,
kidding.
and I tend to like when I'm writing, I try to avoid anything that's too similar to what I'm writing because I don't want to like either a steal or get into too much of a quote unquote
Right.
fan fiction
Mhm,
feeling, right? Because if you read something you really love while you're writing something you
mhm.
really love, you can sometimes be like, "Oh, I just want to do that same thing." And then it's like it's not plagiarizing, but it's just fanfic
Yeah.
almost. Yeah.
I could see that happening because it's like, and you may not actually know that you're doing that, right? Like, you may not actually, if you're really into something, you may start writing something and being like, "Oh, I really love this idea." And then you read it back and you're like, "Wait, that's kind of like Hunger Games book two."
Right, exactly. And that's so I was talking to a friend and I was telling her that exact thing, and she So I was like, but I need to read something with a really good romance because, like, I like the feelings, but I don't want the
Mhm.
situations, right? So if I'm writing about kids in college, I don't want to read about anything else in college at that time. But I also
Right.
want to have that feeling of like the anxiety of meeting someone new and all of that,
Right. Mhm.
because it's been
It's been
13
a
years
while.
since I've
Yes, you've been
had
a
that.
mommy now for a while, and you have children.
Yeah.
So you probably don't date a lot
Yeah, no,
because you're married.
the dating is just with my husband, and I could tell
Mm.
you, while there's butterflies, it's not the anxious butterflies.
It's a
No.
whole different world. Yeah.
No. But ironically, that anxiety does come back because when I was laid off and I decided to tell my husband, like, hey, can I just like try and stay home for a while and write a book that's
Mhm.
going to bring in no money for at least like however long it takes me to write this thing? He was like, yeah, let's do it.
Wow.
So, you have the anxiety or the butterflies because you're not sure how
Mhm.
your partner will take something,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah. Well,
not the
honestly,
same.
that's awesome. Like, Derek
Mhm.
is an A+ husband. But
He is.
honestly,
Yeah.
no, I love this. I love, like, what you're doing. Obviously, I've been Jackie's biggest supporter since day one. I like to proudly put that I am the number one fan. So, yeah, Jackie's been writing for a long time, but she took some time off and, was in the real world working that 9 to 5. But yeah, I'm glad to have her on the blog, and I think she's gonna bring a lot of new topics and insights to the blog from a whole different perspective than me, so just gets me really excited.
Yeah, I don't know about too many more insights, but maybe some different words.
Oh my
Just as
gosh.
if I say something that doesn't make any sense to Jessie, she will call it out. So,
Yeah, Jackie uses big words. So when I say big words, they're, like, usually about 10 letters long or longer, and a lot of times, you don't even know what it means. And I'm not saying I ain't smart, I'm smart, but, like, Jackie uses words that I'm like, "I've never even seen this." They've never been written on paper.
they've definitely been written on paper.
Not by me. But, yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, so well, I hope I can bring some additional flavor. You already bring quite a bit of flavor as well.
Girl, I
So,
bring the flavor. I
yeah.
mean, I really think let me tell you, I really think that you're gonna bring a lot of passion to a lot of different places than I do. Being that you're like a mom and you also have been married now for a while, that's a whole different perspective than me. I'm engaged. I'm going to be married, after March 9th, 2024. But that's a lot of stuff that will be very new to me. And you are someone that can talk on that now. And mental health is huge with moms and it's huge with families. And that's something that I think that you can help some of the Cali Creates and Cali Chats listeners. That's something that I haven't really dived into before.
Hmm.
So, I really go more personal and personalized as in yourself and what we do for ourselves and that self-love type of vibe because like that's to me one of the most important things, but how hard is that to do when you do have a family? A family that you love and a family you want to put a lot of your life toward, but then what happens to mommy?
Right.
Like does mommy get the help she needs? I think that that's something that you can bring to the site and to me you were always such a great creative writer and I always enjoyed reading your stories. So, I mean honestly everyone just Jackie is good at everything she tries. Literally. Like if she touches something, it's just a gold. So there's that.
But we only win honorable mentions. So
That's not true, Jackie. Jackie, that song you wrote got you number one, did it not? Anything is possible when you try your best. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I don't know if I like that on the internet for
Jackie,
everybody
nobody
to
can find it.
see.
It was on a tape. That was recorded on a tape, on a recorder machine with a tape.
Yes, but you just sang it.
Just the what the title was, but like think about this. Not only was it on the what are those tapes even called? They were just a tape. Is that what they were called?
Cassette
A
tapes.
cassette tape.
Well, yeah, cassette tape, yeah.
Yeah, so Jackie recorded this song on a cassette tape
So
and
for
she
all
entered
of
it.
you Gen Zers and younger out there, go look up what a cassette tape is.
It had film on it and it just would wind up and get all messed up sometimes.
Yeah, you remember when we recorded Harry Potter on cassette tapes?
Yeah, no, Jackie and I were gonna be Audible. Audible, Amazon does that. Jackie and I were gonna do that for Harry Potter ourselves.
With British
Let me
accents.
tell you, it was
Not so
good.
good. No.
Oh.
Have you heard a country British accent?
We have a different perspective of what good is. But here, okay, I'm just gonna give you a little insight. We legit went on there and we read the entire, I think we got to like a couple books, right? We read through and we were doing the audio recording for
Oh,
the
no, no,
books.
no. It wasn't a couple of books. It was just the 5th book. We chose the longest one, and we got, like, halfway through, but I was
Yeah,
like, "Why would we
yeah.
choose the longest one?"
Maybe that was our favorite. But yeah, we were going through and we were reading chapters, but we would have breaks. So we would have breaks and we would play music. So we would, Backstreet Boys, Hanson.
But, like, Backstreet Boys 6 years after they broke up.
Jack could probably put like Evanescence on there and just some. I loved Evanescence too, but like Jackie was into some dark stuff.
I mean, I was a whole 15 months older than you, so, I mean, I was in a dark period.
I was like Panic at the Disco. Jackie was like
Like,
Evanescence.
Panic at the Disco was not emo back in high school.
I want some black eyeliner. I chime in with the haven't you people ever heard of?
Have you ever sang on your podcast before?
I do it occasionally, but not for very long. Like I've had some singing, but not like a full thing. But back to Jackie's song. It was fantastic. She won first place. I used
3rd
to
played in the county. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. See, she remembers. Like legit, I would sing that to her for the rest of her life. She just never knew that till now.
No, no, I've heard it quite a few times and
Anything is
since then.
possible when you try your best.
Jessie also liked to go find personal diary entries, and if I
Mhm.
wrote something, she would,
Make it
make it
into a
into
song.
song and, sing it to embarrass me. Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote a poem. I'm telling you, creative writing is key here. She's so good at it.
I wrote many poems. I don't like poetry. No offense to the poets out there.
Here's another one. Look at the stars, don't look at the cars. Tell me what you see. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know
Tell
what
me
you're
what
talking about.
love can
I would like
be.
to preface that that was written when I was 13, okay? I had probably just watched A Walk to Remember or something.
Yeah, Jackie's like, don't think that I wrote this. All right, like 2 years ago.
Jesse, you're supposed to be like propping me up here. They're gonna be like, "This girl just wrote that. Oh, she needs to go back to work."
Why is she looking at the stars? Why isn't she looking at the cars?
I'm sorry, not a girl, a woman. This woman
I'm
just wrote
not a
this.
girl. Not yet a woman. What are you then? Did you ever wonder that?
She's a young adult.
What are you then?
She's a young adult. A
Yeah, but
young
like,
woman.
but she ain't no girl and she ain't no woman.
She's a young woman.
Ah. All right, we've gotten quite off topic. I wonder if we've lost any listeners.
Well, but that's the thing. And you mentioned something. Okay, so insights onto, you know, I think accepting who you are, and that's why it's so funny we do this together because so this is exactly our relationship, right, as sisters. And I'm sure at some
Mhm.
point we'll go into kind of like that familial dynamic. But I think in life you have to be able to accept where you are in any given situation and accept like how you're going to respond to situations, right? So in
Right.
parenthood, you have to be able to accept. I'm a very laid back person.
Mhm.
So, in terms of parenthood, things for me have been fairly, I won't say simple, but because I'm so laid back, right? If my kid eats something off the floor, like that didn't make me super scared, right? Right at the
Mhm.
beginning. But it does for some parents. And then they have like a third kid, and that third kid is just survival of the fittest, right? But
Right. Oh,
so
everyone's different, like 100%.
right. And I think that's why it's so important, talking about different things that we've written. Your blog that you wrote a couple weeks ago is about, acceptance is key. And so I think that that's true about all parts of life, right? You're
Right.
going to become, if you want to have kids, you're going to become a parent one day. And sometimes what you think you're going to be like and how you are is very different. And
Right.
it's hard to reconcile those things sometimes. So,
No, that's really true. I mean, when I think back to years ago and different things that I've done or been through and stuff, it's like a totally different person. It doesn't even feel like me. Like I can't accurately be like, yeah, I did that.
hmm
So, yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I feel too. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people can relate to that. Something I've heard since posting the blog is a lot of people are like, wow, this is like what I needed to hear, or yeah, like I can so relate to this. And all of that is very, it's honestly just such a heartwarming feeling for me because it really gives me that push to keep going. People do need this. People need to hear rawly what like everyone's going through. And like the more we share and care for each other, like we can grow, and we
Yeah.
can get better. And for me, my most recent mental health struggle was literally acceptance, as simple as that sounds, is, like as most people who are listening probably already know. And if you don't know, like I am someone who has suffered from a sexual assault. And that happened many, many, many years ago now. But as far back as that goes, there are days that come up that affect me. But weirdly enough, my most recent struggle actually had like nothing to do with that. It wasn't so much my assault as it was who I was during the time after my assault. And there was just that period of time, and Jackie knows this. No one in my family was aware of it. It was about 2 years that I just, went dark. I didn't talk to anybody really about things that actually were happening to me. And I just kept everything inside and, kept running fast towards new opportunities. And that told me, like, I'm going to get better. I'll be fine. And I just brushed it all under the rug. And one day led to another. And I mean, we're looking at now 7 or 8 years since that happened to me, and like 5 years since these 2 years that I'm talking about. And I still struggle with that. Like, I struggle to see that person and think that was me making those poor decisions. I don't know if you relate to that at all, but it's just something that for me, it just hit me hard. I was like, why can't I accept this? Like, why am I
Hmm.
crying? Why am I like not happy with myself? Like that's not me anymore. And so that's something I've been really working on and diving into, is accepting like that is me. Like I have struggled, and I was just doing what I had to do to get through the time I was going through, and I'm doing so much better now. Just FYI, everyone.
Yeah. I
I'm
think,
doing a lot better now.
yeah. Yeah. And she is. She really is. But, I think that it's something we all can relate to. You always hear people no regrets, right? If you look at what happened in the past, that's what's led me to be who I am right
Hmm.
now and in the future. And all of that is true. However, I think that to say that we don't have any regrets is also a little bit naive, because I think we do look back sometimes. I definitely know at the beginning of the relationship I had with my husband, just different circumstances, and luckily my husband was a godsend, really, and put up with it, and I regret a lot of what I put him through in the very beginning parts of our relationship, as I was coming out of a dark place, and I was
Hmm.
insecure and seeking attention in any way, shape, or form. And so for some reason he stuck it out. I don't know why, but he did.
Bless you, Derek.
So there are still times that I look at those moments and I think, like, why? Because now I look at it and I think, why would I ever do that? I can't believe I would have ever done that.
Right.
Like, what was that
Oh,
for?
that's exactly how I feel
Right.
too. Yeah.
Right. But, back then it just was like almost an all-consuming need for attention. And for some
Right.
reason it was coming out in all the wrong ways, and
Hmm.
for some reason he stuck by me and everything worked out.
No, I think a lot of people can relate to that because that whole, especially as women, right? Like, and I think men deal with this as well, but in a whole different way. But as women, we are very critical of ourselves, whether it's the way we look or maybe like different things that we haven't been able to do in our lives and stuff. So, especially the way we look, I think we are just so hard on ourselves. Like,
Mhm.
I'm my worst critic when it comes to things. Like, I could be in the best shape of my life and I'm still like, ew. like
Yeah.
you need to lose some more pounds, or you need to like do this or that. And back then I was just I was texting people that I didn't even like, and I was just trying to get people to text me back because then that would make me feel like I was not worthless anymore, versus actually looking at the root of the issue. Like, why don't I like myself, right? Like, if
Mhm.
I can't like myself, I sure as heck can't have anybody else like me. I
Right.
think that that's a huge conversation that I just would love to have more people talk about. I want more women, more men, and everyone just sharing more of those things that are uncomfortable, that maybe we are not wanting to say, because how many people are out there? Like, I try to come from a caring place where it's like, when you get a customer service person or just generally a person at a store and they're just like not happy, like, they're in a mood and you're like, uh-oh. Like, but you've
Mhm.
done nothing to annoy them, but they're having a bad day. Back in the day, I may have not been what I am now, but now I'm like, I try to give a little grace. It's like, I don't know what they're going through. I have no idea
Mhm.
why they're being the way they are. All I can do is control what I can do and realize that person could be having the worst day of their life right now. Like, they could have just lost someone in their life. And I just wish we could all talk about it. I wish we could just be kinder to people and understanding. And I mean, that's where the blog's coming from. I want to help people. Like,
Mhm.
acceptance is key. And so if you're having a struggle, why can't I accept this? Or you're having a trauma that's been really bugging you for a really long time and you just keep bearing it and bearing it, I just urge you not to do that anymore. And I urge you to find help wherever you can. And I mean, especially the blog, you can go take a read and see how I dealt with it. And next week, Jackie will have her blog about how she dealt with being laid off, because I know that that also is something that a lot of people have been dealing with in the last few years. So go check that out. But regardless, we will on the episode bio put some different resources that you guys can also look into. That is some free different tools that you could use to get some help if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah. It's a good month to start if you're feeling like
Mm-hmm.
you can't find your happiness. It's a good month to go start trying to find it. If
Right.
you are employed through quote unquote traditional employer, go check out your EAP resources.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Most medical insurance covers therapy now. So
Mm-hmm.
just know that there are resources out there for you. If you're not covered by those things, there are other resources as well. So
Yes. Don't be
check
afraid.
them
Like,
out.
that's the thing. I think that's the biggest thing I hear with people in therapy and not going is being afraid of what people will think of them, or being afraid to try it out. Like, why do I need to talk to someone about my problems? Like, they don't know me, but literally, that is the perfect reason to talk to someone that does not know you. you know,
Right.
like, they don't know your family, they don't know your friends. Hopefully, if they do, it may maybe find another one.
Right.
But they come from a perspective that's like totally unbiased, and they can just hear you out for what you have to say right in that moment. And that's huge. I've always found that going to therapy, even if it's just once a month or even once every other month, is just so much better than not talking to anyone. And like Jackie said, EAP, a lot of times companies will give you 5 to 6 free visits to get you started. But then also, most insurances now, especially for telehealth or video health type stuff, it's usually covered pretty good. So, I had one insurance on the marketplace that I had free telehealth. So anything I did telehealth, it was free. And my current insurance that I have, it's $5. So anytime I do therapy, everything's covered and I just pay $5. So take a look at it, and if that's something that you want to invest in and maybe your plan isn't as good, think about that for next year.
Yeah.
Definitely stuff out there now for that.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
My
awesome.
computer's doing funny things. Like all of a sudden, like a pop up came up. I was like, that's why they give you the tools.
That's why I told you they said to close all your other browsers.
Close all your browsers. Don't do anything else while you're recording this podcast. But yeah, so that's awesome.
That's about it. Do you want to give everybody a quick update about well, you've given an update about your life, I'm sure, but give everybody like a quick future look at what's coming next month.
Oh, yeah, we could do that, Jackie. Look at you. You're like, hey, let's talk. Let's
Just
do
call
it.
me a salesman.
Oh, no. Jackie, we are not going back there. No, you are a writer. You are a creative writer and an author, a novelist.
I'm also a salesperson.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I guess you do need to be able to sell your books whenever you get them written.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so this month is mental health. So Jackie's blog is going to launch on Tuesday, I believe May 30th. Is that Tuesday?
Yeah.
And it will be the last blog that we're going to have that month. And that'll close out our mental health focused blogs and podcasts. And then next month, we're going to go into June. And honestly, the overall theme of that month is going to be just like talking about halfway through the year, we get into those slumps, right? A lot of you may have gotten a lot of motivation early on in the year, like we always do. January comes, we're all like, let's hit that gym, yo. Maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, I did. And, you get all that motivation back. You set all those goals. And 2 or 3 months later, you're like, wait, I haven't really done any of that. So I thought June would be a great month to just essentially go back to the beginning, press the reset button, find that motivation, and move forward with our lives. And the blogs that we're going to have coming out, we're going to have one by me that's going to be called How to Break Down Your Facade. And that's essentially just a deeper look into, sometimes we like to put like those fronts on, and it's a lot of times when we're struggling to move forward, struggling to find motivation, we're in a slump, and so we hide from people. And so I talk about my situation with that and how I struggle with that, but also how we can break down those facades and move forward. And then also, Jackie is working on a blog, and it's going to be about slumps, right, Jackie?
Something like that. Yeah. We'll see. I've yet to start writing it. But yeah,
Oh,
so
good.
but
Good.
just more about like I said, I had the 8 weeks of quote unquote the honeymoon period after being laid off and transitioning into something new. And then there's the post 8 weeks that or the next 8 weeks where I really did fall into that slump, and that I wouldn't call it depression, but just that settling in of like, this is hard. This is going to be different than I expected. Also, the am I making the right decisions? Should I be trying to look more for a full-time typical job? Because I've
Right.
been looking, I've just, been able to be selective based on really good fits for me and everything like that.
Hmm.
So it's been a good situation, but it's also nerve-wracking, right? When you're like, yeah, I'm in a good situation, but what if the worst happens and my husband loses his job?
Oh, no. Let's not put that on Derek.
No.
Derek is fantastic. I mean, that man, let me tell you, like, that man just like looks at people and gets promoted. Like, I mean, he must be very fantastic at his job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he's just like, hi, I'm Derek. And they're like, wow, we should promote you.
He would tell you differently, but yeah, we often talk
That's how
about
I see
that.
it. No, I think that obviously Derek does a very good job, and that's why he's where he's at today. But I'm just telling you, I'm like, man, they must really like you there. We will not name where, but they really like you there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I mean, y'all are just a power family over there. I'm telling you, Jackie touches things, it's gold. Derek touches things, it's gold. That means your children are going to be wilding out,
No,
probably.
we'll see. I hope not. They're pretty crazy.
Are they? Well, that's another day. Another day, another podcast, another episode.
To be fair, they're both 3 and under, so crazy is
Yes.
relevant to their age, yeah.
Yes, they are
So,
children.
yeah.
They're allowed to be fun. Well, thank you guys for being there today, listening to us. We are so glad to be back, and Jackie will be coming on to the podcast periodically and talking about her different blogs and the theme of the month and what we're up to. And so I'm so excited to have you here. And yeah.
If you like Jessie and I talking together, make sure to upvote on
Jackie's
the
like, yeah, if you like this podcast, she said. She's doing whatever she's heard on the other podcasts, where they're like, hey, if you want to listen to this podcast, you can find it anywhere where you find podcasts. That's Apple, Spotify, like blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm a little rusty, but
make sure to leave us a review, but only a good one. We don't want the negative ones.
oh
So
yeah. Yeah, don't be doing that. They're gonna be like, sound quality, terrible. Personalities, bad.
this podcast wins the honorable mention of podcasts.
Hashtag scatterbrained. Hashtag what are they talking about? Hashtag what am I hashtagging?
Oh my gosh. These
Okay,
people are
well,
like,
we're
leave me
just
alone.
rambling on. They're like,
Let us
okay,
go.
pause, goodbye. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, come back. We will try to be more focused next time. But yeah, when you come back, we're going to be talking in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about those slumps and those facades, and we're going to dig deeper into that. So we can't wait to have you back. Y'all have a great week, okay? Love y'all.
Yeah, bye, y'all.
Bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts. For more from Cali Chats, visit CaliCreates.com, or you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Everything is linked in the podcast bio. Talk to y'all later. Bye.